Hey everyone, welcome back to Missy's Enchanted channel. Well, we are going to be on chapter 13 of True Tales of Ghostly Encounters. Like I said before, we're moving along, we're getting there. Hope everyone had a nice day today. I did, or night, whichever it is for you. So we're on, what are we on right now? We're on page 100. So we still got like a lot to go. So, because there's almost 300 pages in here. So, but yeah, I like these little stories. They're cute. All right, we are working on Strings from Heaven. At the age of 19, Kenneth Null, the boy next door in Bells, Tennessee, showed great promise as a concert violinist. Then tragedy struck. Ken was involved in an automobile accident that cost him the use of his right arm. Everything possible was done for him. Doctor after doctor was consulted, but always it was the same story. He would never play again. Friends and relatives tried to interest him in another career, but he wouldn't listen. He insisted he would play again. I will play again, he told me one night when we were alone. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't want to live. Suddenly, I too believed. I told myself I was being foolish, but it didn't keep me from sharing his hope. A few weeks later, on June 5th, 1948, I heard the violin at midnight. Ken was playing again. The music was heavenly. Wake up, I called to my sister Lydia. Ken is playing his violin, and he's at home alone. He will need someone to share his triumph. We raced across the lawn, put it on our house coats as we ran. The front door was unlocked, so we stepped inside and stood listening. Ken was playing in the den. Never had we heard more beautiful music. Then the music stopped. We burst through the door with tears and shouts of joy, but Ken didn't answer. He lay motionless on the couch with his beloved violin pressed against his heart. The doctor later told us that when we found him, he had been dead at least 2 hours from a cerebral hemorrhage. My sister and I didn't argue, dead or alive. Ken had played again, for himself and for the two people who still had shared his hope and faith. M.L. Lovett, Gastonia, North Carolina, December 1964. Aw, that's kind of sad, but you know what? At least he got to play again. And he got to share it with, the two that actually had hope for him and everything. So that's pretty cool. All right. We're going to move on to Still in the Family. In the late 1970s, I belonged to an enthusiastic Southern California group known as PSI, or Psychic Science Investigators. There were between 15 and 20 of us. One of our activities was to visit old houses in the area and tune in on them physically. I was in charge of these investigative tours. For some reason that doesn't sound right. All right, moving on, guys. Among the historical sites we visited was Newland House in Huntington Beach. We went through it room by room to see what vibrations we could pick up and to keep mentally alert for any possible psychic phenomena. When our group went through the Newland home, I was careful to explain to the docents, volunteers who take visitors on tours of the historic residence, that we would like to walk through the building without being given any information about the rooms or anything in them. We also asked and received permission to use the psychic gift of psychometry, which meant we could touch or handle objects to gain psychic impressions from them. We did all this and jotted down our impressions. After our exploration, we decided to meditate around the large dining room table. Sometimes, in the altered state induced by meditation, it becomes easier to pick up thought forms of spirits who may be present. We had a video camera with us and used it to record the proceedings. At one point during our meditation, the chandelier over the table began to swing back and forth. We all saw this, and so did the docents who were seated outside our circle. Yet, let's see if I can, I hate this book, it does it. All right. Yet, when we played back the videotape, the chandelier was not shown moving. As we continued to meditate, I could sense a spirit standing by my right shoulder. I could see her clairvoyantly, very clearly. The figure was that of an old woman wearing a long lavender dress. She had white hair done in a bun, and she was leaning on a cane. In my mind, I could hear her voice. In a querulous tone, she said she wanted me to ask a question for her. My portrait is missing from this house, she said, and added, it was a large oval, dark-colored frame. I want it put back. So I interrupted the meditation and described the woman to the group. Then I described the portrait and asked if anyone there knew what had happened to it. Since no one seemed to know anything about the matter, the meditation resumed. When it was over, the spirit appeared again at my right side, and again she insisted I asked about a portrait. The old lady is back again, I said to everybody in the room, and I don't think will go away until she gets an answer. Can anyone help? At this, one of the Dawsons, Bess Kennedy, who had accompanied us through the house, turned red and stammered. I have it. Everyone looked at her in surprise. I have it, she repeated, and then she confessed. Before I was married, my maiden name was Newland. The old lady you described to us was my grandmother. When Newland House was given to the county as an historical site, I wanted to have my grandmother's portrait, so I took it home with me. Yes, it looked exactly as it was described, but now it is in a square frame instead of an oval walnut frame it had originally. She looked at the other Dawsons and said firmly, I'm not giving it back. I told her she would have to work that out with her departed grandmother. At this point, the spirit disappeared. Maybe she was satisfied knowing her portrait was still in the family. Christine Metzner, Fullerton, California, January 1986. I wonder why she didn't answer her before when she asked. She could have just came out with it and just told her she had it, you know. But at least the grandmother didn't mind. All right, checking out the bride. On Friday, December 11th, 1998, I went to bed early, hoping to get a good night's sleep. At about 2 a.m., I woke up for no apparent reason. I rarely do this, so I already had an odd feeling. I got a drink of water and decided to read until I fell asleep again. I went to the dresser to get my book, and I saw a woman in the mirror. I could only see her silhouette, but her hair was nicely styled, and she was wearing long sleeves. We watched each other for a couple of minutes. Then I woke up my fiance. Dwayne, there's someone in the mirror, and it's not me, I told him. He rolled over and asked what she wanted. I replied that she was just looking at me. Dwayne was already asleep again, and having seen ghosts before and knowing that this one meant no harm, I decided to bid the woman in the mirror good night and go back to sleep myself. On Monday afternoon, Dwayne told me his Aunt Mary had died on Friday. He asked me to describe the woman I had seen. I told him about her clothes and how she wore her hair up with loose curls on the sides. She was a little larger than I, put almost the same height. Dwayne told me that I had just described his aunt. I believe his aunt wanted to see the woman he had decided to marry, since he is the baby of the family. So Aunt Mary, it was nice to meet you. You can rest assured that I love Dwayne and I will take good care of him. Joyce Doreen, Fort Worth, Texas, April 1999. It's funny how that, I don't know, that they took it in stride, that they weren't scared or anything. I mean, me personally, I really don't get scared of things like that because I had so many, things happen to me when I was young. But yeah, it's good that they just, it's okay, Excuse me, guys. All right, now we move on to the gift and the high boy. My mother and I always were extremely close, though we were separated by thousands of miles at the time of her death. My parents, Charles and Tekla Sand, were then living in Milky Way, Wisconsin, and I was in Denver, Colorado. One of the interests Mother and I shared was the occult. She often told me her own mother had returned after death and helped to find a lost object. She promised that she would try to give me some proof of survival after her own death. On April 7, 1971, I had a strange dream of walking down a crowded street in an unfamiliar city when suddenly the black-cloaked skeletal figure of death appeared and beckoned me toward him. I began to scream and awakened still screaming and utterly terrified. I was afraid the dream was a bad omen, that some tragedy would befall one of my children. I did not think it related to my mother. She had had surgery during the winter, but she now seemed to be recuperating nicely. When nothing unusual had happened after a week or more, I have forgot the dream. Then on the morning of April 23rd, it seemed everything went wrong. A bookcase fell over right on top of my 2-year-old son. By some miracle, he wasn't injured, but a lovely glass wine carafe mother had given me was broken. Shortly after this incident, the feeling of wrongness that had spoiled the whole morning seemed to lift. I felt light and happy the rest of the day. I was totally unprepared for my brother's call late in the afternoon to tell my mother had died. Her death had occurred just about the time of the morning that my bookcase had fallen over. When I returned to the Milky Way for the funeral, my father asked me to go through mother's things and sort out what could be given away. I had completed this sad task and was standing in the bedroom for a moment, gathering strength for other tasks that awaited me, when suddenly my father's old-fashioned, heavy highboy began to shake violently. I had not looked into this chest of drawers since it contained only my father's things. But this shaking led me to open one of the lower drawers. In it I found a lovely little blue purse. I gathered that mother purchased it for my daughter's birthday that was to come soon. I believe my mother chose this way in this reason, so similar to what my grandmother did for her, to prove to me that there is life after death. And that's from Sue Deutsch, Milky Way, Wisconsin, May 1976. I think I butchered her last name. But I don't know, what can I say about this one? You know, she had this feeling that there was definitely something going wrong that day and everything, and so it turned out that something really did go wrong. And then, you know, and her mother did get back to her, so that's always cool, right? All right, how long is this one? All right, I'm going to read one more and that's it. Father told me. When I was 12 years old, my father, Paul Walker, passed away after being ill for many months. The first night after his death in October 1941, my mother suggested I sleep with her. She did not want to be alone, and I, too, felt the need of companionship and comfort. After mother finally had fallen asleep, I lay staring into the darkness, trying to understand what had happened and why. Suddenly, I felt the presence of my father so strongly I sat up. He was standing at the foot of the bed. He smiled and said, "Don't let your mother cry. Make her understand I am much better off where I am now. I have no more pain, and although I no longer will be with you physically, I shall watch over you as long as you need me." I started to get out of bed, but he held up his hand and said, "No, you cannot touch me. Just know that I am here. Help your mother to understand." I lay back down and fell asleep. At the funeral and later, as the casket was lowered into the grave at Grangeville, Idaho, I watched friends and relatives crying. I wanted to say, "Don't cry, he isn't down there, he's right here." Later that fall, when I rode home from school one day on my bicycle, I saw my father sitting in a rocking chair on the front porch. I jumped from the bicycle and started to run toward him. Once more he raised his hand and said, "No, you cannot touch me. Do not try. It will only disappoint you and make you sad. I'm just visiting in a few moments." He smiled and was gone. During the next 18 years, I grew up, got married, and had 3 children. My father helped me overcome many problems during these years, and when I would feel a little sad because he never had met the fine man I married, nor seen his only grandchild, I would feel him near, and he would whisper, "I know, I see them." In January 1961, my mother visited us unexpectedly because she had a feeling she must see me right away. One evening we talked about Dad as she was thinking sadly of all the things she could have done to make his life a little easier and more pleasant. As I had done many times over the years, I assured her she had made him happy and in no way could she have changed things. Finally, I told of seeing him and the words he had said to me. To my surprise, she did not disbelieve me. She wiped away her tears and said she felt relieved and happy. That night I again lay thinking long after everyone was asleep. Suddenly There was an urgent rustling in the room, and someone shook me. Frightened, I sat up. There was my father. He said, "You can't go to sleep yet. I must tell you. I cannot stay any longer. I must go now. I have other work to do, and my work here is finished. I love all of you, but I must go on." With that, there was blinding white flash, which turned to sky blue, and he was gone. He had stayed with us, helping us all the years we needed him. I do not know what work he has yet to do, but I do know there is life after death. My father told me. Joan L. Matthews, Garden Grove, California, December 1964. Well, I guess everyone wonders if there is life and death. Well, life after death and everything. So, you know what? At least she knows, you know. I mean, I don't think anyone could know until, you know, it actually happens to you. So, I think only the people who have passed on know. But it's pretty cool that he stayed for as long as he did to help them out, you know. I don't know. What are your thoughts about this? Let me know in the comments below. All right, so we're moving along. I don't know. I think maybe if we're not done this in about a month, I'll probably start another book for Halloween and then go back to this one. So, yeah, because Halloween's coming up, you know, another couple of months. Yay, I can't wait. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Be part of the family. And I'll talk to you guys again. Thank you for listening and watching my channel. I appreciate it. Bye. Mwah. See you later.